You need to know when people are coming onto your property, and you need to know before they know that you do. We had an important question from one of our community members here yesterday. Angela said, "Hi, Brad and Kelly. I'm moving to raw land at the end of the month in a travel trailer that has 31 internal feet with a bunkhouse. That's beautiful, and congratulations on taking that step. I would like to know what security protocols and what home security systems I need to have to keep safe." Actually, and she goes on to talk about how she is experiencing this change and what it means for her emotionally. She says that she was a certified city girl. "I have 3 motion detecting lights for the outside," that's a good step, "and nothing on the inside, but I do have a security tool and the ammunition for it." So congratulations on that. And at the end of the day, proper practice and training with that security implement will beat everything else. But everything else that we use makes it so we don't have to get to the use of that implement. She's requesting guidance, she says. "My closest neighbor, and I'm not going to say how many acres away, but is a certain number of acres away in the middle of this undisclosed state. At least I'm going to keep it that way. My group has not yet been built, mostly family, for religious reasons. They are also citified. Thank you for your time, and God bless." So Angela, I'm going to give you guys a couple of the security implements that we use here, but I'm not going to show all of the implements because I don't think that we should. We should have redundancy. We should have backups. We should adhere to the adage that 2 is 1 and 1 is none. And what that's saying is that if you just have one of something, whether that's one type of system or one in particular unit of a system, it is always going to fail. But if you have 2, you're always going to experience a failure and you're going to have that backup. Now that goes not just for the unit, but also the type. If you have 2 security implements that are both on the grid tied, then the grid will fail and then you have none. So you might have 2 of that one unit, but they both have the same type of system and the same type of vulnerability, and so it's at that point of weakness or vulnerability that it will fail. So we have used multiple units in the past, like the Dakota alert system, so much that I can still, in my head right now, just thinking of that system, I believe it's a MURS frequency. I can hear the alert, alert zone 1 or alert zone 2, and it would tell you exactly where that alert was coming. And it uses infrared, and you can place it up a certain height to make it so that you have negligible false positives. You can have backup. So we would know, and let me give you an example. If zone 1 went off, we knew that we had bobcats and things that would just frequent that area. By the time zone 2 went off, it's not often that those animals would come up to that point. And then when zone 3 went off, you know someone was coming towards the house. So this is guard line. This is one of the units, and I just have the box here because we have deployed this unit. It's a wireless driveway alarm, very reasonably priced, inexpensive, I would say. Has a 500 to 1,000 foot range, easy to install. It uses, again, infrared sensors and a frequency to deliver that information to your house. It's very conscious of battery use, so you're going to get a lot of use out of each system. And what you'll do with these is you're going to deploy them in methods of redundancy. So you're going to have 2 systems so that you can pick up if something tall, something small comes by. If something comes to the back of the unit and tries to redirect the infrared so that it gives off a positive or a false positive. Now, if you have this, let's just say you have an alert go off, and this is a little bit further away from your house. This should be your step 1. Step 1 is they have reached, something has crossed in the perimeter of your property, of your house, and you need to see what it is. And that's where you're going to use something like this. This is the Reolink Go system. And like I said, we have multiple different system types. I'm not going to give all of that information out here, but this is one that I trust. It is a cellular backup, solar panel charged, internal battery, no grid tie, no wires, security system. It uploads to the cloud and sends an immediate alert to your phone. Now you might say, Brad, the cloud has vulnerabilities. And yes, I think you're absolutely right. But I do not care about this particular site where this is pointed being vulnerable to some hacker across the world. And honestly, if someone was able to see this, which they do have great two-factor authentication, they have, it would be really a sophisticated attack. And it's not the kind of thing that I'm concerned about happening here. If they saw what I'm looking at through this, it would give away absolutely no information about my ability to react. So this type of system deployed with redundancy, and what I mean by that is you need to have back-to-back, so that if a person comes up and they put a bag over this or spray paint it, you're going to catch them coming up from the other direction. It's going to immediately trigger. It's going to immediately go up to the cloud. You're going to get an immediate alert, and you're going to always have that information. Unlike a hardwired system that is not cloud tied, if somebody comes in and steals your hard drive, that's it. It's done. Now, we do also have wired systems because I believe that that is another step in your own security. And you might be starting to think, well, that gets a little bit expensive, but I place that investment against all of my other investments. Like Angela, you might have security tools. You might have ammunition for those security tools. You might have things that are very important to you. It might not be worth economically a lot of money, but things that you would never want to lose. And so what does that become worth to you? So for the guard line systems, which are very inexpensive, you're going to spend around $100. For the Real Link Go, it's going to be a little bit more. And then for the wired system, you're going to spend a little bit more. Now, you don't have to. You can find very inexpensive systems around all of these. You can even make your own using a Raspberry Pi and your own infrared sensors, weatherproof it in a coffee can and put it out. You can do all these things yourself. But for the guard line especially, there's no way you'll do it as cost effectively or as engineered as they have produced. No sponsor by Guardline, anything there. I just believe in that company. So you can deploy these units so that you know when someone has come onto your property. You know you have a video of them now. You have that second system, your off-grid security system, pick them up. You see them there. They reach where your hardwired video cameras are. And Angela, I would suggest that you park near a tree if you're able to. You get high up in that tree and you create a 360-degree top-down view of your travel trailer and the area. What that's going to do is it's going to give you more warning and more understanding of what's going on outside. You know, is it a policeman because somebody, you know, even though they shouldn't be coming on your property, especially if you have a gate, did somebody, you know, call for help, or is there a fire nearby, or has there been a gas leak or something like that? You're going to have more understanding of what is happening and a time to react if it is something that puts you, your family, your loved ones, your items in harm's way. So step one, the infrared alert. Step two, video alert. Step three, hardwired video alert from a top-down view. And then you're going to be ready and hope that you never ever have to use that other security implement, because you need to be practiced, you need to be trained in it, but you don't ever want to have to use it. If you guys have other ideas for Angela, please then put them down in the comment box. Angela, I am also a firm believer you're going to a state that it has a mild temperature. I would say get an outside dog with a nice outside weatherized, winterized kennel, and make sure that you have that additional security implement. That way you hear the dog alert. Well, now you go look on your camera and see what's going on. You get an idea of what's out there before having to consider it the worst, consider that it might be the worst when a knock comes to your door or you hear something outside. Let me know your thoughts in the comment box and help Angela out and other people who are making that sometimes apprehensive move off the grid. So states are canceling unemployment benefits, and they're warning right now about what is happening. You see, we have a double-edged knife here. We have a double-edged blade. Humanity in the Western world, people have woken up to the fact that they don't want to be servants anymore. They don't want to be slaves to a broken system anymore. Now, this system did work great once upon a time, but just like most fairy tales that start with once upon a time or in a galaxy far, far away, we're talking about a fictional story. This is a representation of something that used to work for humanity, and it no longer does. Right now, we're in a system where you have basically three different classes. You have the foundation class, and that's the backs and sweat and blood off of which everything else runs. Those are the people who are cleaning the toilet, so you don't walk into that Walmart toilet, which is already probably disgusting, and go, oh my God, I can smell the hepatitis that's going on in here. So that class of worker is doing all those jobs for you so you don't have to. So we can live in this fairy tale that we are not surrounded by a bunch of disgusting human beings. And then you have the people who are cleaning the grease traps, so you actually want to eat that $5 Costco pizza or rotisserie chicken. You have people who are putting stuff on the shelf so that you believe, and they're pulling it to the front of the shelf so you believe that there's not a food shortage or a food crisis there. You have all these different things going on the backs, on the yokes, pulling on the foundation class worker. And then you have the next step up, and that next step up are people, maybe you, who you have, you're walking up that ladder. You're on the next rung. You're living semi-comfortably, but you're still a servant to your bills or still a servant to the system. If it stopped today, you would not be sufficient enough to handle the rest of your life the way you are. You wouldn't just be able to walk away from the economic world and say, okay, it's okay. I've got my chickens, goats, cows, sheep. I've got my garden. I've got my neighbors, my friends, my mule, my everything to handle it all myself. We're still dependent, no matter where you're at, on that system. And then you've got the lottery winners. And I'm not necessarily talking about Tesla. I'm not talking about Bezos. I'm not talking about Bill Gates. And look at how money has treated each one of them. What I'm talking about is the lottery winners, the people who are making, $250,000 a year, and they're living in what other people would consider luxury, but still, to a degree, they're servants to the economic system that we are all abiding within. There's not very many people who find that freedom from this economic crisis. So what we need to do is work towards that freedom, whether you are a foundation class worker, whether you are stepping up that ladder on the rung, whether you're a lottery winner, or if you just happen to be Bezos watching this video, invest in this community. Do some giveaways in this community if you are. That's how you can help. So no matter where you're at, become more self-sufficient. Listen to what is happening as they drop unemployment. So as the states remove unemployment, it's going to cost local economies $12.3 billion. Half of the states that are planning to cancel the extra $300 in weekly unemployment benefits are going to cost their local economies $12.3 billion, according to a new study. One chairman of Virginia said in a statement Wednesday following the U.S. Congress Joint Economic Committee release that there is little evidence that continued unemployment is holding back local workforces. In fact, ending it will cost economies over $12 billion. If states proceed with their plans to end these programs, they'll be ripping the rugs out from millions of Americans. And what that means is we're not talking about Walmart. They're not going to lose money. Target's not going to lose money. Sam's Club, Costco, none of these places are going to lose money. It's the pizza shop down the street. It's the dry cleaner. It's the fan salesperson. It's the person running a small business. The next rung up, they're business owners. They have employees of their own, but they're still a servant to this economic system. They're still not self-sufficient. It's going to cost them $12 billion. And you see what happened with this financial crisis is millions of people around the United States suddenly woke up. Millions of people said, I don't want to be a servant to you anymore. I wasn't born into this servitude. I wasn't born with these chains around my neck, and I no longer accept these chains. I no longer accept that even if I'm making $16 an hour, I'm actually only living in a city that I'm bringing home enough money to barely pay my bills because the cost of living matches the cost of the living wage. And so they're barely making enough money to scrape by. Basically, if there's not two people living in a house, there's no chance of it anymore. And guys, we are only a couple of generations away from when it took just one working person, just one, a single working person in the house, paid all of the bills, paid off the house, paid off the car, had that garden in the backyard, had all the animals you wanted, one person. And then they told the biggest lie in the world. And they told you that we need to send each one of you to work for you. We need to do it for your equal rights. And while I'm a very firm believer in equal rights, and there are things Kelly can and will do that I would rather not, I believe that was part of a lie. And that lie was to deceive you, to get every single person working. Because look at what has happened. And if it wasn't a purposeful lie to keep the extremely powerful in extreme levels of power, then what it was what we're facing right now is a byproduct of a poor financial decision, a byproduct of a social decision that changed our world. Like I said, don't get me wrong. Don't take any misconception from what I'm saying. Kelly has worked her butt off. Love her with all of my heart. Can and will do things that I will not do. Worked in daycares, changing diapers of strangers' children, picking up the spit up from strangers' children. Not something I'm ever going to willingly do. It's something I would do if I had to. If I had to do it, going to. But she did it with the love of her heart, the motherly love, the caring, female, womanly love of her heart. She got out and did that. So don't take this wrong. What I'm telling you is that we've been sold a lie based on a precept that has changed our world. And so now it takes 2 working people to barely pay your bills. Guys, look back at Egypt. Look back at all the slave cultures of our world. What happens? You had your slave places you could live, your slum, right? And then you had your barely enough wage to eat. And during those times, people didn't have a cell phone bill. People didn't have a car bill. So their wage was given to them by food. Their wage was given to them by some manner of health care. That's what we're looking at today. Your slave wage is given to you barely enough to keep your shelter over your head, to keep food in the stomachs of your children, to keep you somewhat safe, and not even enough to keep you healthy, because the healthcare system is really broke. Shouldn't cost $85 for a Tylenol. Shouldn't cost $50 for an Ace bandage. But what we're facing is a crumbling of this system, and it's going to come hard eventually. Right now it's slow and it's painful. So what you can do and what I can do is get ahead, become self-sufficient. You see Kelly and I doing it here. We have chickens, we have quail, we have bunny rabbits. We're working on processing our land. We're building our own wood. If I could tell you in 2020 that you could go and buy plywood, put it in a shack and get a 400% return on your investment, you could be a lottery winner today. You could have taken a loan from the bank. You could have went and bought every piece of plywood that you could have thought of grabbing. You could have put it in just an abandoned shed, and you could have made it rich. Somebody did. Somebody's continuing to. If I would have told you in early 2020 that you could go and fill up your pantry and get the meats that you need because you're going to see 20, 50, 120% increases in price in your grocery bill, you would have been personally rich today. You would have been looking at your pantry and going, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I was able to do that when I did. We need to take those steps, take that initiative right now. And I'm telling you right now to work toward as much self-sufficiency as you can. That's the only way we're going to get ahead in this future. From my family to yours, please stay safe, remain vigilant, and keep watch. If you have ideas for Angela or other people making that big move to their own piece of property, please leave it down in the comments. You're going to help them. If you have other things that you think they should be doing, please leave them down there. Thank you for being here with us, taking the time out of your day. For all of our Patreon members, for your support of my family. Special thank you to everyone who comments and leaves a thumbs up and subscribes. Make sure you check out silvergoldbull.com if you're just interested in looking toward those possible investments. You can use the link in the description box. You're going to get a $10 off coupon. If you want to investigate your own investments, you can use their Reddit, the subreddit down in the description box. You're going to be able to see how other people are making those changes. Invest in yourself. Invest in what you can do for yourself and for your future. That's my opinion for you. Invest in yourself. From my family to yours, please stay safe.